culture, and one of those is the civil rights movement. And you had two different camps regarding the best way to get equal rights for black citizens. And we know about Jim Crow laws and how black people are treated unfairly, particularly in the South. And you had two schools of thought: Martin Luther King, who is taking the nonviolent approach in the mode of Gandhi and Henry David Thoreau, and civil disobedience is the way that he believes will best get things accomplished. Sit-in movements, movements like what Rosa Parks starts with the bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama, those are the things that Martin Luther King sees as ideal. Malcolm X taking a more militant approach where he doesn't even really, at the beginning of his adult life, when he becomes a Muslim, doesn't even really want to be integrated with white people. He just wants to be treated the same. Remember, he calls white people blue-eyed devils. And some of the things that black people are fighting against are things that we don't realize now, and one of them is the gap in wealth. There is a significant gap even in today's world about what the average white family has in wealth and the average black family. You can see the disparity has actually grown over time since the 1950s. The gap now, about $150,000 to just $13,000. Why is there such a discrepancy? And it goes back a long way. Even after slavery was ended, black people were prevented from getting educational opportunities, which lead to job opportunities. Even when they had the appropriate education and certifications, they were not treated the same in terms of the workplace environment. They were denied hirings because of their skin color. They are also not provided with business loans, personal loans, things that allow people to purchase homes, which is one of the biggest accumulators of wealth in modern America. You also see right here college completion rates by race. There has been a change. Like when you look at this, shows you from the early 1960s until 2010. You look at the college completion rate by young adults, and you see that it's improved, but there's a bigger disparity now than what there was in 1962, that white people are still being educated at a higher rate, and black people have grown as well, but there's still a significant gap. And so Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they don't just want equal treatment, they want equality in ways that we don't always think about, right? So you're going to see that become an issue in the 1950s. Now, you're also going to see a change in the role of women. Women become more demanding in terms of their own rights. While black Americans want to see more equality, so do women. Women, this is the expectation of a woman that you see in this particular picture. She's in the kitchen, she's baking, she's wearing high heels. Her outfit is a nice outfit. Nobody wears a dress, a sleeveless dress to cook in, but this woman does. Her hair is fixed, she's got makeup on, and this is not a true reflection of reality, but it is a reflection of what people thought women were supposed to do, and women want to work against that. In the 1950s, you see women asserting themselves more. One of the things we see is more women going to college. While women didn't necessarily branch out into other fields, they're trying to push their way into higher education, and they are breaking some of the barriers. You also see women in the workplace more frequently, and a term comes to be known as the glass ceiling, where women can only advance so far in the workplace or on the corporate ladder. There's a glass ceiling or a barrier that they cannot get past. They can see everyone around them going up the corporate ladder, but not themselves. And there is the stereotype that women don't have a place here. Women should be housewives and mothers. And women are working to get past that. And you see right here that the women are making up more of the labor force now than what they did in the 1950s. It's almost a 3-to-1 ratio, it's a 3-to-1 ratio of men to women in the workforce, and that is significantly changing. We don't see it changing anymore. Women see themselves in part as identified by their careers. And you can see this too. This was a statement I used as one of the test questions you had in World War II, that a woman who was working in factories during World War II, she got a job and she never understood at first why you would go get a job, and her mother told her she would never be the same afterwards. And she inherently understood why that was the case, that after working, she could earn her own money, good money. And at the same time, she knew that she could do it. This changes women and pushes for them to be a little more independent when in the past they had depended on men more frequently. You also see another change in women's roles. We talked about the advent of the birth control pill. Women can control their pregnancy for the first time. That is something that gives them more power over their bodies. You also see women starting to push more for abortion rights. And they're like, hey, I don't want to have 10 children. They also start to become more promiscuous at the kind of the same levels that men are because the risks have been significantly reduced. Right now, while America is changing and culture is changing, we still have the threat of communism that is hovering over not just the United States, but the